Hello, it's Amir from Potent News. Let's talk about numerology and astrology and the overlap between the two. So, what can numbers tell us about the tone of the last few months, or the last month, or the next month, or the last year, or the year before that, or the next few years? Uh, so, here's let's just start with the previous universal year one, for example, and that was 2017. So that year is connected to the the number one because 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 7 is 10, and 1 plus 0 is 1, and that number is connected to the sun, which rules Leo. Now, what did you have that year? You had uh, Donald Trump be inaugurated, and he has a lot of Leo energy. So he's got his Leo rising, and he's got his 29th degree Leo for that rising. And that 29th degree is a Leo degree. Um, and he's got Uranus trine Jupiter at another degree, which is also a Leo degree. So, but you don't even need astrology to know this about him. So you can see that he has those Leo attributes. But another interesting thing about that year connected it to the sun is that there was a total solar eclipse across the United States from coast to coast, the first total solar eclipse to do so since 1918. The next total solar eclipse visible from the U.S. mainland will take place in 2024, and that's what just happened with the solar eclipse on April 8th with Aries. So the 2017 solar eclipse made a path of totality that crisscrosses with the 2024 solar eclipse, and that made like an X. And so that this thing was received a lot of attention, maybe too much attention. Uh, but at its core, it's Aries energy, which is about being assertive and aggressive. And so let me just show you some keywords for Aries right here. So on the positive side, they're action-oriented, enthusiastic, confident, competitive. They have a desire to win. They're brave. They're independent. They're about initiation. They're determined, passionate, good-looking. They're warm. They're quick-thinking. They're dynamic. What you see is what you get. There's no bullshit. They know when spelling shit out for people is useless or a waste of time. They recognize when patience is overrated. They're good leaders. Aries is the first sign. A is the first letter. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but and you can spell arise with the letters in Aries. Other letters that start with A are that are relevant here are alpha, authentic, ambitious, assertive, aggressive, angry, and army. And the negative version of this Aries energy is selfish, insensitive, bulldozing, stepping on toes, rushing others, speeding, road rage, narcissists, egotistical, motor mouth, overreacting, bad temper, overly aggressive and or passive aggressive, too impulsive, often not finishing what they start, jealous, possessive, easily gets attached in love life, falls in love too fast, burns themselves out, burns out others around them, and they're like being around a tornado. Hard to take Aries seriously due to Aries often going to extremes, almost like Aries is a cartoon character. Because they'll get angry fast, but they'll calm down fast, and resist ideas merely because someone else thought of it. So they'll block out opportunities inadvertently due to not listening to suggestions seriously or hearing what other options are actually available. And other relevant words that start with A are asshole, arrogant, abrasive, and argumentative. So that is the energy of the solar eclipse. And so what's interesting is, hold on, let me get back to the fucking proper window here that I was at earlier. Where was it? No, okay, hold on. Yeah, so it's interesting that all this Aries energies happen happening now. Let me turn down the music. This is bothering me how I have to yell. There we go. These mixes. No, that's not what I wanted to click. Okay. Let's just put it that way. I don't give a fuck anymore. If you can't hear it, too fucking bad. Okay, so 2017 was the last universal year one, and so that's interesting that that number one's connected to the sun. You had that interesting solar eclipse there, and then fast forward to now, and you have the 2024 solar eclipse. And the thing is, we said it's in Aries, this one, and that is a sign that burns themselves out. And so then you look at, and I'll get back to the year number one in a sec, but you look at this particular year, and is basically a number 8 universal year, and that's connected to Saturn, which is cardinal just like Aries. That means they like to start new things. But Saturn is about Capricorn, which is Earth, meaning the money, the resources, and all that, like we're saying here. And the reason I would recommend people lean on the Capricorn Saturn energies versus the mad scientist or revolutionary Aquarius energies, because since Aquarius used to be ruled by Saturn, is that the next 20 years is going to be Pluto and Aquarius, a lot of it, and that's a lot of air energy, and so that's going to be boosted by Jupiter entering Gemini soon for about a year, and then when Jupiter's done with that Gemini air energy, which the air will basically boost that Aquarius energy, then you're going to have Uranus, which rules Aquarius, is going to enter Gemini for several years, except for maybe a retrograde, a brief retrograde thing, comparatively brief. But so all that air energy from the two different planets, adding some Gemini stuff, is going to boost the air energy of the revolutionary stuff and the next level scientific achievements. But you don't want to be too mad scientist, right? Right? A mad scientist is too much in your head, and that's where that's where you have to notice that the what do you call it? The eighth tarot card, Strength, is basically got the lion on there. It's connected to Leo, and so this card is very much about a harmony between your mind, body, and spirit, and you being able to be brave and that kind of thing. It's got a lot of yellow here. Even the word yellow sounds like the word Leo, like it's the same sounds. And Leo is ruled by the sun, and so your solar plexus chakra is kind of connected to anger and your ability to fight and stuff like that. And Leo is a good leader. Leo is the father, and we do need good leaders. Our leaders suck, all of them. So things might be getting better here and there, but essentially the Leo rules the heart, and so if you're more heart-centered, and there's a moon in the back here because I made this around the time of the recent, a semi-recent full moon in Leo. But the point is, if you got 20 years of this mad scientist shit, then coming from the heart isn't the worst thing in the world. The only negative thing about Leo energies is the more narcissism. So if people can avoid the narcissism, then they can get a lot out of these Leo energies. But regardless, if you know that there's a lot of air energy coming up, then it's nice to be able to build something that can stand the test of time and lean on the Capricorn energies more, because what's going to happen in 2025 is we will enter a universal year 9, because 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. So that number 9 is connected to Mars and Pluto, and in that year you're going to have Mars. You're going to have two long-term planets, namely Neptune and Saturn. Hold on. Neptune is going to enter Aries March 30th, March 30th, 2025, and Saturn March 7th. May 24th, 2025. Saturn spends around a couple years or so in a sign, and Neptune spends a lot longer. As you can see, it's been in Pisces since 2011. So it's really timely that I'm putting this video out, because you see Neptune, which rules Pisces, as we said, has been in Pisces since 2011, and that gave us like a lot of artistic ability, a lot of intuition and stuff like that. But Pisces can be victim complex, and we've seen a lot of that too, like with the identity politics and whatever. It's like definitely a lot since 2011. Like any the more of a victim status you can wave as a banner, then the more rights you seem to have over other people, or something like that. So that's, you can, if you want, connect that to Neptune in Pisces. But the thing is, this is a timely video because we're about to enter. Here we are here. I'm recording this at May 2nd, and we're almost May 3rd, and you can see here that precisely on May 3rd, 5:17 a.m. in just 5 hours or so, maybe even probably by the time you watch this video, we're going to be in this zone here that I've highlighted. This is Neptune, this is each day of the month, and this is May. And you can see here's May, here's June, July, August, and then September we stop getting that 29-degree stuff, and then that's somehow coincidentally around the same time that Pluto, as it's going retrograde, is gone backwards from mad scientist Aquarius to the Capricorn grandfather, going back to the drawing board to see what you could salvage from the status quo pertaining to responsibility and determination. So that's already happened for a number of months up until January 20th, when both the Sun and Pluto entered Aquarius, and now it's or by September 3rd or so, you're going to go back to the drawing board. But the point is, that'll bring you back to the 29-degree shit. So what does that mean? And how long is that happening? So that's like fucking 2.5 months. See? So then there's like almost no other 29-degree stuff. And so why am I pointing this out? Right? It's timely. Like I said. So basic. I don't know how. I've tried to record this video so many times now with so many interruptions that I don't even know if I've already mentioned what I'm about to mention to you. But the 29th degree is the last degree of a zodiac sign, so you're getting tested on whether you mastered the lessons of that sign or not. The word zombie equals 29, and the word sheeple equals 29, but also the word mastery equals 29, and the word wisdom equals 29. So what you have here is a situation in for 6.5 months where you get a lot of that 29, but Pluto is only the last 2.5 of those months, but it's pretty annoying to have it 6.5 months. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because I had already released a 4.5-hour video about why Neptune is connected to the number 2023. So 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 3 is 7, which is connected to Neptune and Mercury energy also, but more so Neptune, in my opinion. And so it's almost like that year we got um, schooled on getting right spiritually, because Neptune is about lack of boundaries and altered states and um, interconnectedness and the dream world and stuff like that. But the thing about Neptune and Pisces energy is that Pisces is the opposite of Virgo, and this is Virgo on the negative side. When everything's nice and got a place for everything and everything in its place, this is the Virgo energy on the positive side, maybe. Uh, so Virgo is about your health and your health improvement and um, your income and your nutrition and workout routine and stuff like that. On the negative side, they could be too bogged down with all their shit, and they become hermits. And but that's why they are ruled by Mercury, which is about communication and specifics and studying and stuff like that. Whereas the opposite of them, Pisces, is about the big picture and like forgiveness and whatever will be, and that kind of thing. Uh, so so you could see how if you look at the zodiac wheel and you know that each zodiac sign is like a stage in life, like you could say Aries is like the newborn baby. You come out the vagina head first when you're born, and you could say then Taurus is like a toddler, and so on and so forth, and then that would make Pisces like the old dying person. They're just tired, They don't have the. They'd rather forgive you than than be all like, "Hey, you can't tell me what to do," like Aquarius. So Aquarius is revolutionary energy, but you know it involves everybody. So uh, it's not just up to you with that energy. And sooner or later, you get to that Pisces area of the journey, and that is more about resting. And that's why Pisces is connected to the 12th house, which includes on the negative side like jails and psych wards, but also anywhere where you're caring for people like hospitals and stuff like that. If you are compassionate and caring like a Pisces is, then those kinds of jobs are probably good for you if you're not taking too much pain from people. Uh, and that's what Saturn in Pisces has been telling us to do is to be more disciplined about how you use that compassion energy. Uh, and it's not just yes, to forgive is divine, but also Pisces is connected to the lymphatic system, and that's the a component of the immune system. And so if you take too much pain from people and you be a shoulder to cry for everybody and you don't look after your own physical shit, then you'll get sick. So and particularly here, this upcoming May 7th new moon is in an 18th degree, which is known for illnesses. It's a Virgo degree, and Virgo is like the sixth sign, and that's like the sixth house, which is health and all that. So that's why it's particularly important around now to be aware of how much the recent energies burned you out with the Aries solar eclipse on April 8th, and with um, any energies of Aries and leadership itches. It's like you're itching to do your own thing since mid 2023, because that's when that Aries Libra nodal axis shift kicked in. We got tested about that via the March 25th lunar eclipse in Libra, and which is the opposite of Aries, and the April 8th solar eclipse in Aries. So you got tested with that, but luckily you were all on a universal month 3, which kind of lightened the uh, the heaviness of a lot of what we're dealing with respect to the Capricorn reality check energies. I mean, you'll notice that you did have the start of that month, and I know I'm bouncing around all over the place here, but whatever. You did have the start of that month involve the where is it here? Well, a lot of people heard about the Israel deliberately killing the World Central Kitchen workers April 1st. That was the same day that they bombed an Iranian embassy in the city that I was born in Damascus. And so then, you had the retaliation from that on April 13th, 2024. From Iran, and that was everybody was making a big thing about that. Um, Even though I think I'm not sure even if people got killed with that. Don't quote me on that, but uh, the point is, it seemed that everything kind of did not escalate with that. I think I heard that Iran said that they're not going to do more after that attack, and they're just kind of looked like they were trying to save face and stuff like that. It is interesting that it took like a whole 13 days, right? Like April 1st, April 13th, for this thing for the retaliation to come. Anyway, regardless of what's happening with that and what other weird stuff might be going on with that, uh, you could see that the number 3 being connected to Jupiter energy, and Jupiter rules optimistic Sagittarius. You could see how that was, people were optimistic, and cooler heads prevailed more or less. Now you still have this shit ongoing though. You still have what's happening now, like in this universal month 4. Now that we get to May, that ends up being 4, which is connected to Saturn Uranus energy, and slightly more so Uranus for that one, you could say, especially from the Chaldean numerology. So, so that means that it's not surprising that here in May 2024, the protests are heating up. Again, this is a fake picture here that I made from AI art, but I'm not going to go through the videos of the protests that are all over the campuses and whatnot, but that was a feature of April, and now you have that expanding a bit. I think I heard Toronto University maybe having a protest here now. These remind me of back in the uh, Occupy Nova Scotia when I was living in Nova Scotia days, the Occupy Wall Street days, with all these encampments happening around and people putting up tents and stuff like that. But the point is I'm trying to make here is that Aquarius energy is about the good of the group and about putting everyone on the same level, regardless of how much provocateurs are involved with these protests and whatnot. One thing that's for sure is when you're leveling the playing field and putting everyone on the same level, that means the U.S. does not get to be the policeman of the world anymore. And we're shifting more into a multipolar world, and that's reflected by the BRICS and everything like that. But let's go back here briefly, and I know I want to do this in a more step-by-step way, but we were talking about the eclipses. The eclipse was April 8th. That was over here. And it's interesting that this eclipse being so focused on, it was the number 8, just like 2024 is a number 8 year. So you had that. Also, we said the 8 is connected to the devil card, and because of the fact that 8 is connected to Saturn, which rules Capricorn, which is connected to the devil card. Saturn itself is connected to the world card, um, in tarot, but that devil card is interesting that connection is there, given the fact that devil comet was visible to the naked eye around the time of this solar eclipse, at least in the northern hemisphere. And also, it's interesting that this is the year of the dragon. I believe in Chinese astrology. I'm not too knowledgeable about the Chinese astrology, but that seems to coincide with the fact that another name for this devil comet is Mother of Dragons. So that was interesting. Also, with this whole next, well, I'll mention this too. The Americans suffering. Okay, you know what? I'll go back a bit. I'll go back a bit because I want to do this step by step. So let me go back, and so originally we were talking about uh, the 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 tone of the month and how that's connected to Jupiter, which kind of lightened the intensity of all that uh, solar eclipse in Aries. Now Jupiter got into the same spot as Uranus, the sign that rules mad scientist Aquarius, on the 20th of April, and that Uranus brings unusual solutions and forward-thinking, innovative ideas, and Jupiter is basically growth and expansion and good luck and being at the right place at the right time and stuff like that. And so you could say that that might be the reason that around that time things like this are more popular. Uh, this is electroculture, and basically a lot of people, like here you can see they're eliminating the insect infestation just with a coiled um, a copper wire, and it's this kind of thing also boosts plant growth. And so it's interesting that stuff like this is getting more popular. Of course, there's more I want to say about this, but I'll leave it at that for now. But Taurus is about gardening and stuff like that. So although you would have thought that a main feature, since that solar eclipse in Aries happened in that number 3 month, well, it's like you would have thought that solar eclipse was the main feature of that month. But like, if you know that Uranus and Jupiter do not meet up that often, then you can see how this would be a thing too. And the other thing is, Jupiter is connected to the law and beliefs, morality, ethics, and that kind of thing. So maybe the enforcement of the law is more Saturn kind of thing, but Jupiter is the law. And so these events of Israel bombing the Iranian embassy in Damascus, that did spark some debate about whether this type of thing is legal at all. And there was a similar event that happened. Ecuador storms Mexican embassy to arrest former vice president of Ecuador, George Glass. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So that also, same deal. And this was interesting, that there was a stabbing that occurred. There were some teens charged with a murder stabbing outside Halifax Mall. I used to live in Halifax, so that's interesting there. And you could say that, like, the articles for that were talking about whether those children should be charged as adults. So that's more debate about the law, you could say. The other thing, the Dubai flood, right? You had Mars conjunct Saturn in Pisces, and Pisces is a water sign, uh, and so if you know that Mars, whoops, hold on, if you know that Mars and Saturn are both, what fucking window was I at here? Hold on. Maybe it was this instead. Okay. Okay, if you know that Mars and Saturn got to the same spot of Pisces on April 10th, I believe it was, like 2 days after the April 8th solar eclipse, then this type of thing would not be that surprising because Mars and Saturn both cause trouble. Saturn's about limitations and hardship and reality checks, and Mars is about shoot first, ask questions later. So, and being impulsive and that kind of thing. And so, this Dubai flood was not the only flood. There was a bunch of others, as you can see here, that whole region. And some people said it might have been due to cloud seeding. I don't know. It seems that was removed from this Wikipedia page since the last time I saw this, unless they put it to the bottom. Oh yeah, okay, cloud seeding allegations. Okay, so anyway, these are the countries impacted: Oman, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Qatar, Iran, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Yemen. And here's another instance of that 17. You see the 17 a lot. We might cover that more as we go along. Let me change the music right now. Hold on a second. Let me go to this. All right. So the presentation will probably be less all over the place in about 15 minutes because then I'll enter a number 6 personal day instead of a number 5 personal day with my numerology. So let's see if that happens. Number 6 is good for completion of work, so I hope I get this done. Let's get back into talking about why the number 3 being connected to April is connected to Jupiter Sagittarius energy. So I mentioned the Dubai flood, but I mentioned that was part of the 2024 Persian Gulf floods. But Dubai itself is the one of the airports that is most popular. So when that's impacted, then long distance travel gets impacted, and that is what Jupiter Sagittarius energy is about. Long distance travel. Okay, so you get the idea. Yeah, quite a flood. Like, geez. Anyway, so that is one way that you can see this event be reflecting that the number 3 is about Jupiter energy. And we also mentioned the whole thing about the Israel bombing the Iranian embassy in Damascus, so that caused more of that debate. You had the Sydney shopping center knife attack. You know, Sagittarius is the opposite of Gemini, so they're kind of the same. And Gemini is the 3rd house, which is shopping centers and the neighborhood and stuff like that. So that, in a way, would also fit with that. And the other thing I might as well mention, just to wrap up most of this section here, I'm not going to cover everything I want to cover, but the Statue of Liberty on its way to being on the way to that April 8th solar eclipse in Aries, you had the Statue of Liberty on April 3rd do this. And so people said that was lightning, but if you actually do a Google check of other photos of lightning striking the uh, Statue of Liberty, it's all you can see that the branching is coming from the top, so the branching is facing the bottom, and it's actually rather brighter near the top. Whereas uh, this particular picture was the reverse. This is brighter near the bottom, and the branching goes up. And the person who made this video pointed that out and tied it to seismic activity that was happening. I think New York might have had an earthquake somewhere around that time.
Quakes are describing the release of energy from the ground in the days and hours before an earthquake. That's what this is. It was stirred by the low pressure cell driving thunderstorms in the area, yes, but this was an earth strike discharge. The signals are often seen covering hundreds of miles around the epicenter, so this New York City event is well within the range for the epicenter that struck the next day. This is actually what all that pre-seismic signal stuff is about.
Okay, so I'll just leave it at that for that. But why am I pointing this out is because it is the Statue of Liberty, and that's emblematic of America. And what exactly happened with this? This was on the way to the solar eclipse, and what happened with the lunar eclipse is tied to the solar eclipse, because the lunar eclipses always come with the solar eclipses. They're like 2 weeks apart. And so March 25th, you had the Baltimore Bridge collapse, a day after that lunar eclipse. And that month was a universal month too, which is connected to the moon, which is ruling a water sign. So there you have more of that. So we'll come back to more of that universal month too, but I just wanted to point out those two things with so also the relevance of this Baltimore Bridge collapse is not just that it's Baltimore Bridge, but that according to Jacob Israel, he said this bridge was named after the guy who made the U.S. national anthem, right? So it's interesting that as the U.S. is becoming less of the policeman of the world, you see this kind of stuff happening, and of course there could have been some shady business or whatever, some weird shenanigans with the hacking of that that boat that crashed into that thing. But regardless, what I'm seeing from all this is just more evidence of the crumbling of the U.S. empire and its being seen as like the best thing in the world and the American dream and all that. What else did I want to say in relation to that? Yeah, Biden, he is, a life path too. And so that is also connected to the moon. And then he did this thing here, March 29th, where the proclamation on Transgender Day of Visibility for March 31st. This was a thing he put out at the White House on March 29th. So apparently this is not the first time they mentioned this, or not the first time that this Transgender Day of Visibility became a thing. But what I'm trying to say is that this is well, first of all, it's interesting that it happened on the 29th, but it's interesting that it's coming from it's happening in a universal month 2 from a president who is a life path 2, and uh, so I'll just leave it at that. The other thing is the in relation to this whole Israel thing, what was it? Anthony Blinken is Life Path 2 also. And it turns out there are these connections here. Anthony Blinken is the stepson of Samuel Pissar, who is the lawyer and confidant of Robert Maxwell, who is a Mossad agent and father of Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. So, I don't know I don't know if these people are actually Mossad agents or whatever. But the point is, like, even if, regardless if they are or aren't, even if these connections are real, then it makes you notice that you can't expect a guy like this, who's got these connections, to care about dead babies on Twitter all day long. And it's been like 7 months of this shit now with this genocide. So, and isn't it interesting? He's also born on a year that, if you add the numbers together, you get 18, and that is a number that's connected to war. If you go to the Chaldean numerology section of my brain database here, and you go to 18, you'll see it's they'll talk about the similarity between the moon card, and I'm not going to read all this, but symbolic of materialism striving to destroy the spiritual side of nature, and generally associates a person with bitter quarrels, even family ones, also with war, social upheavals, revolutions, and in some cases it indicates making money and position through wars or by wars. It is, however, a warning of treachery, deception by others, and also danger from the elements, such as storms, danger from water, fires, and explosions. I mean, isn't that partly what the Baltimore Bridge collapse is? It's anyway, so treachery, deception of others, the elements giving you shit, waters, fires, explosions, and yeah, so it's not the best number in the world. And so you see this number in Anthony Blinken's life path, not his life path number, but in his generational number, the year he was born. Now, so that brings us to 1 plus 8 equals 9, and 9 is connected to Mars, which is war, and the fact that Netanyahu is a life path 9, and here, I'll show you that right there. Okay, and also the Ghislaine Maxwell, who we mentioned earlier, is life path 9, and also anything to do with war. So the War Measures Act, life path 9. It eventually became the Emergencies Act, and when it did, that was also a life path 9 date. And you have this spiritual war, which this pandemic was emblematic of. The date that the World Health Organization announced the pandemic was a life path 18/9 date, and even the movie Star Wars is life path 9. Now, we said the Pluto and Mars are connected to 9. Well, if you look at the word wars, the W kind of looks like an upside down M. So if you just turn upside down that W, it becomes Mars. So that's interesting. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to take this information and be like, okay, yes, there is a growing backlash against Netanyahu, for example, but regardless of what happens with him, these energies are still going to be something on our mind in 2025, because it's a number 9 universal year. And as we said, that year is when Saturn and Neptune will both enter Aries, which is ruled by Mars, which is connected to the number 9. So uh, that alone is the thing that is taking most of my attention and making me try to tell you that, you know, if you know that Aries energy is going to be heavy in 2025, even though we'll have been finished in January 2025, around then we will have been finished the 18 or 19 month cycle of the Aries Libra nodal axis shift. And so you'd think you'd get a break from that Aries energy then, but no, you're wrong, because that planet of order and structure and discipline is going to be happening Aries style. People are not going to be getting their order and structure unless they put themselves first to a certain degree. But that's where it comes handy to have done, like, to know that last year was about getting right spiritually, and the meditation and that kind of thing. So, and of course that is the universal year number. It's not the personal year number. You also have a personal year number, which may or may not be the same as the universal year number, but the background energy is the universal year number. So based on how many people in 2023 did their inner work, then they can know who they are and have a better sense of self, and then they can then enforce that the boundaries that is emblematic of that Saturn energy in 2024, which is this year. And that means that if they do roll up their sleeves and do the hard work this year, then they'll have an easier time with completion, which is what the universal year 9 is. It's about completion. So if you look at a person who is a life path 9, for example, you know, the positive keywords are humanitarian, giving, selfless, sophisticated, idealistic, creative, expressive, but the negative includes stuff like unrealistic and impractical and dissatisfied. So all of those, you can see how those fit into not being able to finish shit on time. If you're unrealistic, you're not going to finish on time. You're going to be dissatisfied. If you're impractical, that's the same thing as unrealistic. And it's not practical to let everybody cry on your shoulder when you should be getting shit done. Now, you look at this retrograde cycle here, and you notice February and March, the 2 months where there was nothing retrograde. It was a sweet spot. But the last little bit of March, we said that March 25th was the lunar eclipse in Libra, right? Like a day before that Baltimore bridge collapse. And so that was a bit of, any eclipse is going to bring fated events. And so that was a bit of a wrench in the gears for some people. Of course, followed by the Aries solar eclipse. What's that? Forgot to put that music back on too. Hold on. So what I'm trying to say is, so what I am trying to say is that it's easier to complete stuff in 2025 if you roll up your sleeves and do the hard work this year in 2024. But this particular year, you have to understand that if you sat on your hands in February, then fuck you. Okay, I don't want to say it like that, but if what I'm trying to say is January was a number 9 universal month, and that made all the Capricorn energy that was littered throughout that month, harder to do because 9 is about endings and Capricorn is instead about starting new things. That's cardinal. So a lot of people wanted to get their businesses up and running and start things, but too bad you had to accept some delays because the 9 is more about that Pluto and Mars energy, and both Pluto and Mars were actually in Capricorn in January. And the other thing is, to show you that Mars and Pluto are both connected to the number 9 or the same number. Well, that fits with the fact that Mars used to rule the sign that Pluto rules. Like before Pluto was discovered, they say Mars was ruling Scorpio, but now Pluto rules Scorpio. But there's overlap. They're both very passionate signs, Scorpio and Aries. So so there's that, and Pluto is about death and rebirth, and Aries is about birth, because they're the first sign. So they go together. There's also the 13th tarot card is death, and the 13th degree is a Aries degree. So you can see the overlap there also. Uh, so that's why people should not, look at things in black and white so much. Anyway, point is, in January we wanted to get up and running, but we could not do it as fast as we wanted to. Where is that window? Okay, so we could not do it as fast as we wanted to, but then February came, and that was a number 1 universal month, and then March was that number 2, and April is the number 3, and now we're on the number 4. But okay, so one thing I want to say though about this 9 and how it relates to January, well, you got to know that when you're looking at the universal months, due to the way the calculations happened this time around, when we got to November, when we got to, let's say, October, right? That was when the Hamas attack happened, right? And the month after that, it seemed to be more when, I mean, Israel had the gloves off right away from the get-go, but they really, once they saw how little backlash they got from everybody, they went even more all out, in my opinion. And that is why November 2023 was even more bloody. And they attacked a UN school there, even as in the same month that UN leaders were calling for ceasefire. This was also a month where South Africa recalled diplomats from Israel. You'll recall, well, you will remember that in January 2024, South Africa also presented its case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. This particularly happened at the first new moon of that year, and that was in Capricorn. So isn't it interesting that something like this occurs in a year that's all about Capricorn and on a new moon in Capricorn, and same day that this Operation Poseidon Archer happens, January 11th here, according to CNN. And that Operation Poseidon Archer was a reaction to the Red Sea crisis, which is itself a reaction to Israel's genocide. So you can see how these events are happening at really interesting times. But let's go back again here to the November 2023, and we said that was a month of endings and stuff like that. Look at that. Henry Kissinger dies at that date, November 29th, right? And like we said, that number 29 is not the funnest number. and we're entering 6.5 months of 29-degree bullshit. So, but that number 9 is about endings. So isn't it interesting that this older kind of the technocrats end up dying on a number 9 month, and 9 is connected to Pluto, which is death. So there's that. Um, this was also when they started to attack more hospitals and stuff like that. That Israel attacked like all these hospitals, and there was even an image of what looked like a bulldozer running over a Palestinian civilian. And even here, you see had an Israeli minister says using nukes on Gaza is an option. That was also November, um, and and just the fact that this stuff was happening, that puts humanitarianism in people's minds, and so that humanitarianism is connected to the number 9, and all of that energy gets eventually amplified by Pluto re-entering Aquarius January 20th, which we're still in now. Like I said, all that Aquarius energy is revolutionary. It's about humanitarianism, just like the number 9 is. Uh, so and you also had Iran calling for a boycott of Israel at that time. So anyway, all that stuff happened, and so what I'm trying to say is that you had a lot of 9s, right? You had November was a 9, and then December was a 1, and so you had, I think Yemen may have been already retaliating by that time, but it became at least more on my radar around December, uh, that they attacked the Unity Explorer ship, and particularly a ship called Number 9. Like the literal name of the ship was Number 9. Uh, for that particular attack and whatever. But you also had the this like I don't know. You had, yeah, this was the other interesting thing. There was an instance of a pro-Palestinian protester self-immolating outside Atlanta's Israeli consulate December 1st. So, you know, the number 1 is connected to the sun, which rules Leo, which is fire. So literally, someone tried to burn themselves alive then. And then, of course, that's not the only time that someone did try to burn themselves alive in recent history for that purpose. And a lot of you know about Aaron Bushnell, who on February 25th did burn himself alive, screaming "Free Palestine" outside the Israeli embassy in the U.S. in Washington. So that same month, on February 14th, there was another attempt where someone was not as successful, but also tried to self-immolate at a Prague anti-Israel protest. Here you see police officers supervising the announced rally swiftly intervened when a participant poured flammable liquid on himself and attempted to set himself alight. So, people think when we're talking about this astronumerology that it's just about your psyche and stuff like that, but when it comes to the mundane astrology and the mundane astronumerology, you see literally, like every single instance of self-immolation here happened on a number 1 universal month. So February 2024 was a number 1, which is connected to Leo Sun Fire energy, and December 2023 was a number 1. Same thing. Now, even the word immolate ends up having a numerical value that is the same as the word rebellion if you reverse the alphabet. So that's gematria. I don't have time to go into that right now. But the word authority also has the same numerical value as the word Capricorn and the word government, right? So, and the word technocracy. But so that's why you see that uh, the overlap with government and the number nine, because number like government's more like has the same numerical value as the word number nine, but it also has the same numerical value as the word Capricorn, which is ruled by Saturn, which is connected to the number eight. So it's like Capricorns like to climb the ladder and they'll seek positions of authority. It just so happens that some positions of authority end up being of the technocratic nature, and so that's where the overlap is. But the word law and order also has the same numerical value as the word Capricorn and government. So what did you see in January, right? Let's go back to January 2024. You saw Canada caps foreign student visas amid housing shortage. And that was a limitation by government. Another thing like that happened in January. The federal court in Canada declared the use of Emergencies Act unconstitutional. And that's, again, government putting a limit on government, more or less, at least on the surface of it. So, and of course, the Emergencies Act itself, we said, was a life path 9. So, and then it's being found unconstitutional in a universal month 9. You see how these numbers explain everything. Like, if you know the numbers, nothing that happens surprises you. And in that month, of course, the German farmers and the French farmers, rose up against their governments, and by the time we by the time we got to February, that was a lot more of those farmer protests. So, anything that I'm citing here, if you want to go click the videos, whatever, just go to my website, potentnews.com, and click that brain button that's right here, and then you'll be able to enter this database. But yeah, so we mentioned already about February, about the fact that you had these 2 instances of self-immolation attempts, one of them successful, and how that's connected to fire, which is connected to February, but also that Leo energy. There was a number of things. And by the way, here we see also Lord Jacob Rothschild dies. He had a big hand in creating Israel. That's another thing that you could tie. Like we said, birth and death are kind of the same thing here. This happened in a number 1 month. The other thing that we mentioned about Henry Kissinger dying, that was a number 9 month. Okay, so the interesting thing about this number 29, well, 2 plus 9 is 11, and 1 plus 1 is 2, and that's connected to the moon. But the moon is kind of the opposite of the sun in a way, and the sun rules Leo, and the 29th degree is a Leo degree. So then it's interesting to notice that so many interesting weird-ass things happened on the 29th day of February, just the number 29. So let's go through one of them here. Disgusting moment. Oklahoma high school students engage in toe-licking challenge for fundraiser as administrations say kids volunteered to participate in an event that raised more than $150,000. I'm not going to show you the video of that, but that happened. And that happened during boundary lacking Pisces season. because Pisces is the last water sign, so they can lack boundaries. All the water signs can, but Pisces also rules the feet, and so this happened on the 29th day of February. We already mentioned that Leo thing, but Leo is the 29th degree, but it's also related to children. So Leo is related to children, and so yeah, that happened. And before I, okay, well, I'll come back to what I want to say about the other children thing, but let's look at the other things that happened on the 29th day of that month. February 29th, Israeli forces kill over 100 Palestinians awaiting food and wounding 760 others. That was the 29th that we heard about that. And also a Palestinian prisoner crushed to death with a bulldozer by IDF. This one, I saw the video. This video, it was clear that it was a bulldozer. I'm not going to show you the picture of this. That's all in the brain database. Go look at it there if you want. But that was posted on the 29th, and I imagine that happened the same day. That the person was not like, okay, I'll post it tomorrow. So, so that happened, and that was on the 29th, and what else was, so that you had this one, this one, this one, and was there another thing on the 29th? You know, there's some stuff with Sora that relate to that 29 too. I'll get back to that. But here's the other story that relates to the children that I was going to say, is that Leo is connected to leadership, and it's also connected to children. So here we have the first female president of Hungary ends up resigning over a pardon to a man convicted in a child sexual abuse case. And it's interesting, the date of this. She took office on the 10th day of 2022, and that 10 is like the 10th sign, Capricorn. It's also 1 plus 0, which is 1, which is what this universal month number was when she ended up resigning on the 10th of February 2024. So there's another 10. So yeah, that's like, these things end up lining up quite literally. Now, the thing I wanted to say about Sora that's interesting here is it was February 15th that when Sora was first previewed, and what's interesting is this is from OpenAI, and OpenAI was the founding of it was a life path 22/4 date. According to the research I found, apparently that this was when it was founded, and so that 22/4 is the mad scientist stuff, right? And what is Sora? It's basically like the video version of the AI art. So you write a sentence or two or a few things in a prompt, and then it'll make a video for you that looks pretty realistic. So I'm not going to show you that. A lot of you already seen that. But the point is, that was on that was from a company that literally has, OpenAI literally has the black the hexagon right in its logo. Okay, let me try to zoom in on that here for you. Oh, why is it doing this? Okay, there we go. There's a hexagon. Okay, so that hexagon relates to Saturn. Okay, there's that hexagon again. And there's how it relates to Saturn, and there's how it relates to Saturn. Supposedly, this is apparently a picture of Saturn, and there's a North Pole that is a hexagon. And there's some more ways that Saturn relates to the monotheistic religions, and so I came out with a video that touched upon this back in 2018 or something, but the point is that hexagon is connected to Saturn, and you see it in the center of the OpenAI logo. Not only that, but OpenAI itself was born in 2015, which is 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 5, which is 8. So it was born literally in the previous number 8 year, which was 2015. And then fast forward to now, the next number 8 year, and you see it with you see it coming out with Sora now. And of course, a lot of this is more attributable, maybe, or equally attributable to Pluto in Aquarius. But like we said, the number 8 is connected to Saturn, which used to rule Aquarius. So the other thing is, if you look at ChatGPT itself, which if you look at ChatGPT itself, here we see from Wikipedia, by January 2023, ChatGPT had become what was then the fastest growing consumer software application in history, gaining over 100 million users and contributing to the growth of OpenAI's valuation to $29 billion. There's that 29 again. Yet you see it so much. You see it so much. And that's why I'm trying to put out this video right now, because right now you're going to get 6.5 months of this 29-degree bullshit. 6.5 months where you got to watch out for grief and deceptions from members of the opposite sex, watch out for unreliable friends, watch out for trials and tribulations and all that stuff as it pertains to any illusions, which is Neptune, or compassion or intuition or delusions. So on the positive side, that would have meant that you're using your intuition properly, and you're not being in la la land too much, and you're still able to use the Saturn in Pisces energy, right? Saturn is in that hippie ass sign of Pisces, so it's making you, since the last year or so, we've all been able to use that energy to have reality checks about any rituals that you're doing, or any prayers, being more disciplined about anything to do with spirituality and stuff like that, or even art. So now you're about to get tested for 4 months about whether you're too escapist or not with that shit, or whether you're being a shoulder to cry on for everybody and not using the number 8 energy of this year to build something that can stand the test of time. Why do you want to build something that can stand the test of time? Because the Aries energy that's coming up in 2025 is burnout, but also because this air energy of Aquarius can be too lofty. If you get lost in the group, you lose your individuality. And the opposite of Aquarius, which is Leo, is about individuality. We said that's connected to the number 8, the 8th tarot card, strength, connected to Leo, just like 2024 is a number 8 year. So yes, you have to be like the grandfather and disciplined and determined, but not in such a dry way where you forget about all the Leo stuff and having fun along the way a little bit. So that's what's up. But yeah, 4 months of this 29-degree stuff means also look at how you used last year's energy, right? 2023, were you escapist in that year, when all of a sudden Saturn gave you reality checks about your mysticism or alcohol abuse or drug use, or your binge watching, or any foods you're addicted to, or if you're addicted to sex or anything like that, anything that will waste your time and get you away from building something that can stand the test of time. Because that air energy is just air. It's good to have a breath of fresh air and have new ideas and things flowing and connecting with people and networking, but how long until you find out that all the networking you did in February when we had a bunch of avatar degrees, how long until you find out that the people you rub shoulders with are being too cutthroat, like being too Pluto-ish that way? You know, this Pluto retrograde coming up here in the first week of May, technically on May 2nd. So we're already in it, actually. Um, that was at that second degree also of that Taurus energy. Well, the second degree of the mad scientist sign, but any second degree of any sign is going to be Taurus energy also. And so it's interesting that Pluto was in the second degree when it went retrograde, and that was 147 earlier today. Right? Is that what I see here? May 3rd. Yeah. So we're in May 3rd now. Earlier today, around 1:47 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, the power of planet and control issues went different. So if you had beef with somebody and they had the upper hand, maybe now it's like reversed and stuff like that. So, but the what I'm trying to say is, hold on. Yeah, what I'm trying to say is we had the 2 months of sweet spot. Then the end of that was that fucking eclipse shit. And then when the solar eclipse happened, it was right in the middle of that Mercury retrograde, and we're kind of we're out of that now, but we're in the after effects of it. So if you look at, hold on, if you look at, one sec. Where did I put that? There we go. So here's a nice graph from astrology horoscope readings.com that'll show you a visual display of when Mercury retrograde was the worst. And here we passed the 25th of April. We're now the 3rd here. We're over here. So there's still like another week and a week or so, a little over a week of the Mercury retrograde bullshit, which means problems with communication and transportation and electronics and just your everyday stuff. So that's still annoying, but even when that clears up, we're still in that Pluto retrograde. So that is, um, uh, really interesting, right? Like I said, that the time that, like, hold on, let me show you. Let me show you right here. Okay, so here's okay, maybe not that one. Let's go back to this other one here. All right, so we're May 3rd now. We're over here. Neptune is about to grind through the last degree, giving you, testing whether you have mastery and wisdom over your intuition or imagination, for 4 months, and testing whether you're lacking boundaries too much with people. And that happens right around the time that Pluto goes retrograde. So that means now Pluto is going backwards, right? We said it's in that second degree, which is Taurus degree, but it's going to be there most of this month, and then it's going to go. It's going to continue to go lower, so it'll go to the first degree, which is the Aries degree. Anyway, that means it's going to go lower. The next month here you got June, and then lower. It'll keep going lower, and it'll keep going lower, and then right when, hold on. So here you see okay, let's go back to June. Okay, let me start this again. Okay, here we are now in May 3rd, where Pluto's already gone retrograde. That's at RX, and then where Neptune is giving us this hazy 29-degree bullshit. And so the planet of power and control issues starts to not do its thing properly as soon as the planet of illusions starts to test whether you got too much illusions. And that's, as I said, informed by how you use the energy of 2023 to a large extent. But this timing of this shit is interesting. Uh, this Neptune and Pluto. So then you fast forward a bit more, Pluto's going down, and we're still in Neptune's not retro, or Neptune ends up going retrograde by the time we get to July 3rd ish. Okay, as you can see here. So it's going, before that is going, the numbers are going up, as you can see. And then they hang around 55 there, 29 degrees, 55 minutes. And then you go to July, and then that 55 hangs around, and then it goes down, 54, 53, 51. So that's Neptune going backwards in the zodiac wheel. So reanalyzing all that bullshit that I just told you is coming up about who is unreliable friend, who's giving you grief and deception from members of the opposite sex, what boiling point energy is happening that's cathartic that has to go somewhere. That's going to be up for review around then. And when that's happening, by that time both Neptune and Pluto will be retrograde. And then you look at the next month, and the same things happening. They're both going down. And then when you get some relief from this 29-degree bullshit from Neptune, that's around the same exact time that Pluto ends up continuing to go down so much that it goes back into Capricorn. And that's us going back to the drawing board to see what we can salvage from the status quo as it pertains to being responsible or determined, and biting the bullet and reality check energy and stuff like that. Keep in mind, when Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008, that ushered in the 2008 financial crisis, which rocked the world. So that's kind of how much weight you have to appreciate is happening in the Aquarius way now. So before it was the Capricorn way, the sign of the CEO, and Capricorn's the last Earth sign, and Earth is about the concrete, what's like the money and the resources and stuff like that. Now it's in that Aquarius way of like, okay, you need to have innovative stuff and be rebellious and not take shit and be revolutionary and whatnot, as long as you can avoid the shitty version of that, which is being a provocateur and all that crap. But yeah, so as soon as you stop getting as much tension from the illusions that you have here and around the first part of September, that's when the planet of power and control issues will still be in reanalysis mode. So they'll still be a little hazy, but that's because we're going back to the drawing board to get some grounding. You have to have some grounding. You have to have something, because the air energy the next 20 years is going to be Pluto, and that's amplified by the Jupiter in Gemini, then amplified by the Uranus, which rules Aquarius, in Gemini. So, Pierre Poilievre is a Gemini, and he's a life path 8. So is it any surprise that people are interested in him at a time that is like now? So you see here, we're about to enter Gemini season, but and I already told you that generally Mercury and Venus are in signs close to whatever the Sun is in, but that's not the case for Jupiter. And Jupiter spends around a year in a sign and is entering Gemini right after like the first week or so of Gemini season. But by that time, we'll have already been knee deep into this Illusions 29 bullshit. So it's like, are people getting hope from him for the wrong reasons? I don't know. I think personally, like, my assessment is that he's good for Canada in terms of helping people like me avoid being force jabbed, or also he was upholding parental rights a little bit. I would say he was a little late in the game for that, but he eventually did, I think, come out and say that Children cannot consent to puberty blockers, so that is good. But he doesn't give two fucks about the genocide, from what I can see. A couple months ago, when people were talking to him about that, he's just like barking the word Hamas, and that's it. And there's a lot more I want to say about that, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now. Yeah, let's have a little intermission. Let's listen to some music while I smoke some more weed here, so we can keep this organic and have a nice flow. And I also, actually, that reminds me, I gotta change this number 5 that's in front of me to number 6 to remind myself that I am now in a number 6 personal day. And that 6 is connected to the Venus, which is about the finer things in life a little bit. So, plus we're in Taurus season, that's creature comforts. So, let's turn up that music a little bit. Alright. So let's get back into explaining this stuff, which is so much to go over it, but I'm glad I'm not in that number 5 personal day anymore. That makes you bounce around a bit too much, but yeah, so getting back to this, what was the last thing I mentioned here? I'm talking about OpenAI, how this got the Saturn cube basically in its logo, how it was founded in 2015, which is a year connected to Saturn, how when we got to the other 2015 year, was when uh, uh, they decided to partner. Hold on. Yeah, this is the other thing. Um, yeah, so I don't know if this is a tangent or not, but they partnered with the robotics startup Figure, and this was now I think this was I have it here as February 29th. So there's a number 29 for you. Um, and that was I think. Hold on, let me click this. Yeah, this was an article from February 29th, as you can see there, and they're talking about how OpenAI, which is basically the ChatGPT, partnered with this robotics startup. And then what happened was that was February 29th, and then we got to just uh, uh, 2 weeks later or so is when they ended up having a demonstration. Uh, Hold on, was it really 2 weeks like that? Because backing from Jeff Bezos. Okay, I think it was. That was fast then. Um, Company announced today it has received a staggering 675 million investment round from such technology industry heavyweights as Microsoft, OpenAI, Startup Fund, Nvidia, Jeff Bezos, Parkway Venture Capital, etc., etc. So, okay, so at any rate, when they ended up having the demonstration, that ends up being something that does not surprise me either. The fact that it was in a kitchen setting, because a kitchen is connected to Cancer, which is ruled by the moon, which is connected to the number two. So it was a number two universal month, and you had this thing happen we mentioned already the Baltimore Bridge collapsing. That was water, just like the moon impacts the tides and the menstrual cycle and whatnot. But the other thing, I did not follow this Puff Daddy story too much, but it turned out his homes got raided. That was on literally the same day as the lunar eclipse. So lunar, like the moon. So the universal month that's connected to the moon ends up having a lunar eclipse, whereby people raid Puff Daddy's home, and he is a Scorpio, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That's another water sign, just like Cancer. But the Cancer is connected to the home, and he was apparently not arrested. They let him travel and stuff like that. But there was this big story about raiding his home, or his homes, plural. So that ends up fitting with the energy of the astronumerology of March 2024 being a universal month too. The other thing, the number two is about collaboration anyway. So there's just the fact that there was this collaboration between Figure AI and OpenAI. That is fitting with the number two also. Then you have Russia and China literally discussing the idea of deploying a nuclear power plant on the moon. So that's literally the moon and literally cooperation. And you had that Moscow concert hall terror attack later, which was quite tragic for them. And another story, you had a newborn baby here in Ottawa, in the city that I live in. Newborn baby among 6 stabbed to death as teen arrested. Now, the number 6 is also connected to family. So, the fact that the newborn baby was among 6. Well, I guess that would have been 7 then, if it's with the newborn baby too. I don't know. Either way, it happened March 6th. So there's a 6 right there. Plus, you see the life path number 8. If someone was born that day, they would have been a life path 8. So there was that. And I got here, Mars was at the 17th degree during aspects that day, which is interesting given that Mars is related to conflicts and war. So also that day was between friction caused by Venus square Uranus, March 3rd. And so this was March 6th it happened, but Venus square Uranus happened March 3rd. And Venus is... Hold on, this music's too loud. Hold on. Okay. So Venus square Uranus happened March 3rd, and that's the planet of expect the unexpected, having friction with the planet of relationships. And then 3 days later is when that stabbing happened. Also, there was apparently the later occurring Mars square Uranus of March 9th, because earlier Mars and Venus were at the same spot in February 22nd. Anyway, I don't want to focus on this too much right now. The point is, it fits with the numerology of the 8 because it's a life path 8 date, and it fits with the numerology of the 2024 being a number 8 year. And it is a family situation. Here's the story. And 6 people were found dead in Barhaven, suburb of Ottawa, on Wednesday night. A newborn baby was among 6 stabbed to death inside a home in a suburb on the Canadian capital Wednesday night. 6 victims were from Sri Lanka, including a mother and 4 young children. The father of the family was also injured in the attack and is in the hospital. So yeah, this made you guys probably already heard of this, but the point is, it happened in a number 2 universal month, and that was connected to the moon and Cancer and the family. Number 2 is also about being diplomatic and wanting to be balanced and stuff like that. So you see that was also a time when Elon Musk defends reinstating rule against misgendering. So I don't know if that's balanced or being too subjective. The negative version of Cancer energy is being too subjective and lacking objectivity. But anyway, so you can see that a lot of things relating to the home and family happening in March 2024. Another one, viral videos appear to show FBI agents visiting homes over social media posts. So that happened. That's homes. Okay, so that was March, and then we covered a fair bit of April already. I told you about that Statue of Liberty there, about how April was connected to Jupiter, which is about long distance travel, and the Dubai flood in one of the most popular airports, and these events of Israel doing killing people in an embassy, is that sparked debate about whether that was legal or not, just like the Ecuador storming Mexican embassy. There was, I mentioned also the fact that the Iranian retaliation against Israel was kind of did not end up being as crazy as people feared, after that. And it was more to save face or whatever. I mean, if you think it was different, let me know why you think that. But that's what I saw. And this was a thing I saw recently too. the teens charged. I mentioned that I lived near Halifax. There was those teens that were charged there with the stabbing in Halifax. Weird stuff, a Clockwork Orange kind of stuff. Like, we don't need 14-year-olds stabbing each other and stabbing 16-year-olds and whatever. Like, that's ridiculous. This is, you know, happened. Stabbing occurred April 22nd. Like, what did we have happen then? Let's just take a look real quick. April 22nd. You had the Jupiter conjunct Uranus happen on the 20th. You'd think that would be good, but since Mars was doing stuff to Jupiter and Uranus really shortly before that, Mars brings in that warlike energy, so that might have ended up being something that was there. You know, Mars opposed Lilith. Lilith could definitely play into that stabbing, and you also have, probably most of all, is the Sun square Pluto. Sun rules Leo, which is connected to children, as we said, and Pluto is power and control issues, and it happens to be in a sign that is rather bullyish. So that can also fit with this. Psychological issues and power and control issues, challenging ego, or someone's ego challenging their ability to not be obsessed with something to the point where you end up wanting to stab the person or whatever. Like, this is just ridiculous. You have also April 29th. There's that number again. You got a Mars conjunct Neptune. That Mars is the impulsive, and Neptune is boundary locking too much, and victim complex, savior complex. So, you know, all these things could play a role here. But the thing happened on the 22nd. But yeah, there's all these things around that time, and so yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say about this thing. Yeah, the eclipse sickness, might as well touch upon that. So, universal month 3 is what April 2024 is, and we said that rules, or that's connected to Jupiter. But the thing is, Jupiter used to rule Sagittarius. I mean, Jupiter rules Sagittarius, but it used to rule Sagittarius and Pisces. So, uh, uh, so if you know that Pisces is a very sensitive sign, then, and if you know that around the time of the eclipse there was that Mars in Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, and Neptune has been for many years in Pisces, then you can not be surprised by this story here. Daily Mail saying Americans suffering from eclipse sickness, including insomnia, headaches, and changes to women's periods. Women's periods is like, the reproductive system, and that's like all this Pluto energy, because or Pluto rules Scorpio, which is connected to the reproductive organs and sex and stuff like that, and the actual period is impacted by the moon, and here you have a lunar eclipse, and it's an eclipse in Aries, which rules the head, and it's causing insomnia, which is something related to the dream world, and that's Pisces energy. So all of this ends up fitting, and yeah, that's probably why the Navajo say do not look at the solar eclipse. And I knew that back in 2017 in that first popular eclipse there, that made the X with this one, but yeah, this is kind of proof that, that not only an overload of Pisces energy makes people too sensitive to their surroundings, but also that maybe it's not the best idea to look at this eclipse. So yeah, Anything else I wanted to say about that? This 17 stuff, I mentioned the 17 showing up a fair bit last year, and if we know the 17th degree is a Leo degree, then maybe it's almost like the universe is showing us a lot of these 17s just because to give us hints to balance out that Aquarius energy, right? Now, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, which takes 17 hours to rotate. That planet literally takes 17 hours to rotate, just like the Earth takes 24 hours to rotate. That one takes 17. And the 17th tarot card is also connected to Aquarius. And so that's interesting that Aquarius is the opposite of Leo, and the 17th degree is a Leo degree. You also have, even when you're looking at the actual Kazemi, where is that? Kazemi, I had it here somewhere. This monitor is complete shit. Like, seriously, I'm using a converter to use an older monitor on a newer laptop. Like, anyway, so the word Kazemi has a numerical value of 17. So that's literally, to know what I mean about getting a numerical value of a word, just go watch Amir's Gematria Adventures. I've released 8 hours of video content on that already. I don't have time to tell you why the word Kazemi equals 17 right now, but the point is, Kazemi is when a planet is in the same spot of the zodiac wheel as the sun. When they're within 17 minutes of each other, they're Kazemi. So that is when you're kind of in the heart of the storm. But when you're outside of that a bit, then it weakens the abilities of that planet, or it makes what they're doing obfuscated, so you can't tell that it's coming from that planet or something like that. So that's why it's interesting that the heart is ruled by Leo, and the word heart equals 17, and the word Kazemi equals 17 also. So that's some more stuff for you there. Okay, look, I might as well show it just for this example. I'll just pull it up real quick. So, heart. There's the Chaldean cipher right there. As A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, so on and so forth. And then it gets weird over here, and you got a 666 right there. So it gets kind of random and weird. But if you use that legend or cipher to attach numbers to letters in the alphabet, then you add up all the letters of you add up all the numbers of the letters of the word heart, you find it's 17. Just like the word Kazemi. In that cipher, it's 17. So that's what I meant by that. And of course, there's different methods, and that's why you saw all those other numbers. But you find here in reverse full reduction, Kazemi is 38, for example, and in full reduction, the word Gematria is 38, that's what getting a numerical value of a word is here. Anyway, let's go back. Let's try to stay on track here. There's too much stuff open. Okay. Okay, so where was I? What was the last thing I was trying to talk about? Oh yeah, the 17, right? Because we're pointing out the 17. So you look at this, and you have here from, I think, Michael Snyder, was it? Who wrote this article back in April 1st. 8 extremely, and it's funny that he uses the number 8. Like, this guy is more on the religious side and stuff like that, but like, I think he's a Christian, if I'm not mistaken, but he chose 8 to describe things that'll happen in this very uh, epic event here, this solar eclipse. And if you look at the number 17 in this article, hold on. Okay, so I'll get back to the many instances of the number 17 in that article, but one thing he points out is this cicada or cicadas, I don't know how to pronounce it. The month of April, the cicada apocalypse is coming, as I discussed earlier this year, for the first time since Thomas Jefferson was president. Billions of 13-year cicadas and billions of 17-year cicadas will emerge from the ground simultaneously. Shockingly, the emergence of these two groups will overlap in central Illinois. By now, most of you already know that the path of the Great American Solar Eclipse of 2024 overlaps with the path of the Great American Eclipse of 2017 in Illinois. That's where the overlap is. So, and then around this time, I was watching a TV show called Three Body Problem. And let me see if I can make this even bigger. There we go. Three Body Problem. And they mentioned the cicadas too. But I wouldn't have even have heard it if I didn't have the subtitles on. And even with the subtitles, I could barely hear them say that. So, but that was in the background there. And then I think it was mentioned a couple times, if I remember correctly. I don't know if I took a screenshot of that other time, but yeah, here you see this scene in the show Three Body Problem, and it's talking about the year's cicada swarm in the United States is expected to number in the tens of billions. That's what was in the radio or something that this person was listening to in this particular scene of the show, and the show is called Three Body Problem. So there's the number 3, and we're talking about a universal month 3, right? And so then it's interesting how the cicadas was such a thing. And then you look at the actual article that we were about to look at, and you do Control F looking at 17, and you find that even this Large Hadron Collider that is firing up the same day as the solar eclipse, it says here that theories have suggested there are 17 different particle groups, and the European Organization for Nuclear Research, better known as CERN, confirmed the existence of one of them using its Large Hadron Collider in 2012. And also then here you see we are being told that they plan to shoot particles down a 17-mile long tunnel. That's a lot of 17s. 17 down a 17-mile long tunnel at nearly the speed of light to recreate conditions a second after the Big Bang. Okay, so what other instances of 17? Of course, 2017, the previous number 1 year that was connected to the sun, that had the 17 right there in the year. So there's that too. And here they're saying billions, even trillions of cicadas are going to emerge at the same time across 17 states. So it's not just that they're 17-year cycle cicadas. There's 17 states also. like how many of these 17s do you need to see? There's a lot. And again, I remind you, I pointed out even more of those instances of 17 being found in really pivotal places in my previous video, so go watch that for more on that. Okay, is that everything? Let me get back to this. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's like everything I wanted to say about this particular month. And I mean, there were tornadoes too, devastation caused in the Midwest plains. I'm not going to go through that, but that is something that happened, and so now, oh, this was also April 29th. this interesting thing: backpack of rats thrown at LA's pro-Palestinian encampment. And when I looked at the original video for that and checked out the, uh, you know, the comments on there, it appeared that this was not the first time that mice were used. Apparently, there was also in October 30th, 2023, very shortly after October 7th. There, pro-Gaza activist hurls dozens of live mice painted in Palestinian flags colors into a Birmingham McDonald's, leaving customers screaming because the chain supports Israel. So yeah, it's important to. I mean, I don't know if this was a provocateur or what, but it's ridiculous. Both of these are ridiculous, and the fact that it happens at the 29th day, that stands out to me because of everything we said about the 29th. Okay, so, but yeah, again, it's interesting to note too, as I mentioned earlier, that the Jupiter conjunct Uranus was also a big feature of this month. So if you look at the April, and we say, let's say Jupiter is the thing that's connected to the number 3, then that means if you let me find the window, hold on. Here's May, let's bring it back to April, right? And let's highlight Jupiter, right? So all you see here, this is the aspects, the exact aspects, and the ingresses for that month of April. And you see that if you highlight all the Jupiters that you see, it's only April 19th and April 20th and April 25th. So in other words, the planet that's connected to that month's universal month number ends up being in I think it was that the actual, like if you look at the chart here for the April 19th one, Mars sextile Jupiter, you'll see that the Mars was in the 21st degree, and that sextile means they're going to be in the same degree but like 60 degrees apart. So they're both in the 21st degree. And what is that 21? That 21st degree is a Sagittarius degree, because the 12th degree is like the 12th sign, 13th degree is like the first sign again, 14th degree is like the second sign again, so on and so forth, making the 21st degree a Sagittarius degree. So it's like, that's interesting given that Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So the first aspect that Jupiter is doing with anything ends up being in a Sagittarius degree on a month that's connected to Jupiter Sagittarius energy. So I wasn't surprised to see that. And then the other thing here of Jupiter meeting up with Uranus, which is a very, I think once every 13 years or so, that happened on that degree also, right? So Jupiter and Uranus both in the 21st degree, Sagittarius degree. This appears to be more corroboration of numerology corroborating astrology, basically. And like, let's take a look at, right, we said we were looking at just now the April 20th, right, a day after we got into Taurus season. Is when Jupiter, planet of hope, got in the same spot as Uranus. And you can see here this 21 it goes on for a few days for Jupiter, and for about 2 weeks or so at least for Uranus. But they're in the exact same spot at the around in that Sagittarius degree, and that ends up being the only shit that happens with Jupiter that month. So this is what I mean about, if you know what planet is connected to that month, then that could save you some time. Because me particularly, I do feel more that uh, that the emphasis was on the Taurus energies, because yeah, the solar eclipse brings fated events and stuff like that, and it is very important, and it will impact you for years to come. But it's if you that Taurus energy, the slow and steady wins the race, the being methodical approach, is very handy when you're coming out of an exhausting kind of burnout prone thing, where you have the Sun in Aries, Mercury in Aries, Venus in Aries, and North Node Aries, and Chiron in Aries. That's a lot of Aries. Um, so now that was a breath of fresh air when that Jupiter conjunct Uranus happened. It was breath of fresh air via the Earth. But like I said, Uranus rules an air sign, so that's the way you gotta look at it. And yeah, I think that about does it for what I wanted to say about April. Now we're in May now, and that's why I think the protests are heating up, with the students protesting against the Gaza war, or not war, the Gaza genocide, and wanting their universities to not be financially tied to Israel. So that is something I expect to see more of. And the four is also about rolling up your sleeves and doing hard work. So that's the other reason that the methodical emphasis, the slow and steady wins the race thing, is very much needed, because now here we are in May, which is a number 4 month, which is all about hard work, um, and Uranus Aquarius energy. So there's going to be more of this, probably more next level scientific achievements, and and the Saturn energy too. So that means possibly the government being a little too heavy-handed and militaristic, like they're using rubber bullets against the students that are protesting against the genocide. So that's a little too stale of an approach. We need a newer approach that is taking into account the good of the group, and one that is Aquarius energy is prone to overthinking, but when it comes to stuff that they don't want to be fucked with about, is they don't overthink with that as much. Um, but yeah, like I said, number 8 year, that's the Leo energy too, because that's strength card, so that'll balance out the any overthinking that may be happening. But this month of May, expect all the attributes of the number 4. So let's take a look at if somebody was a life path 4, for example, they would be traditional, orderly, helpful, persevering, steady, logical, self-disciplined, and practical. And on the negative side, they would be closed-minded, neurotic, demanding, boring, compulsive, perfectionist, rude, and more realistic. So if you already know that this whole year is that Capricorn roll up your sleeves energy, and then you know that we're in a month that demands rolling up your sleeves, then that's why you know that Taurus energy, while we were still in the Jupiter connected universal month, was so welcome, because that sets you up for being practical, because Taurus is practical. So that fits with what's happening this month, and hopefully people got their recharging batteries time, and were able to make use of the networking and the focus on community that the number 3 month of April was about. Um, but yeah, we're in a different month now, and that 4 is karmic, and that's why I think that now we're, like we said, approaching that 6.5 month spurt of 29-degree bullshit, where it's either mastery and wisdom or you're overcompensating in a certain area. And as we said, the first 4 months going to be testing you about your escapism, but also your compassion and intuition and artistic abilities, and all of that having to be filtered through the 29, which is grief and deception from members of the opposite sex, unreliable friends, trials and tribulations, that kind of thing. So the month after this, so if May is a number 4, then June would be a number 5, and I haven't put that yet on my brain database, but a 5 would be, as we said, more like the first half of this presentation, or the first bit of it, where it was more, I was on a number 5 personal day, and so I was probably being all over the place, a little bit more ever-changing, and that kind of thing, than afterwards, than now. So in other words, in June, it will be an expansive time. So if you are finding it depressing that this year is so much work, and of course the word depression literally has the same numerical value as the word Capricorn and heart health and rose quartz, and even Aaron Bushnell, and the word burns himself. So it gets pretty trippy when you look at gematria to look at these events. But Capricorn starts the winter, and that is a depressing time, and so on and so forth. Capricorn is the grandfather, and that's kind of also a bit depressing when you're nearing the end, or at least people think it's depressing. And of course, heart health. Saturn, Capricorn energy is the grandfather, but Leo is the father, and Leo rules the heart. So that's another connection there with that Leo strength card. You'll be able to do the Capricorn thing better if you at least have some heart. Don't be heartless, kind of thing. We can all be a little heartless from time to time, but this year, I would say the negative version of Capricorn energy is like the reverse King of Pentacles, and that can end up alienating associates and stuff like that. And if 2025 is a universal year 9, then why would you want to alienate associates if you're approaching a year that's good for networking and synthesis? Is like the bird's eye view is what that number 9 is. And of course, we said the negative version of that is like Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. Klaus Schwab is a life path 9, and so is his mentor Maurice Strong. I've mentioned that many times before, but the positive version of it is knowing that you had your mind, body, and spirit connected properly, which would have been you using the 2024 strength card and Capricorn energies properly, and then you can complete things on time in 2025. Now again, universal years are not the same as personal years, like I said, but the general energy is that most likely in 2026 you're going to get something or someone that is going to be just as new as Trump was in the previous universal year 1, which was 2017 when he got inaugurated. And I want to also point out that when we look at the universal month 1 of February, that was when Trump unveiled his never surrender golden sneakers also. And it turned out that was on the 17th of February. So there's that number again. So the fact that they're golden relates to the sun also, and the solar plexus chakra, and the fact that they are sneakers relates to the actual timing of this, because uh, um, I got it written down here. Hold on. Apparently it was February 17th that he unveiled these sneakers at SneakerCon, the 17th degrees of Leo degree. Okay, I already said all this other stuff. Um, yeah, here we go. February 17th was approaching Pisces season, which is connected to the feet. And uh, Aquarius season before Pisces season is connected to the ankles. And so sneakers are kind of related to both. And I already mentioned to you that that month was the weird ass. I gotta get some water soon. That month was the weird ass month where you had that other foot thing with the Oklahoma high school students engaging in toe licking challenge. Uh, so yeah, it's bizarre how these things end up lining up. Um, you also had humiliating stripping of Palestinian hostages. I feel like that might have happened earlier too, but uh, either way, nudity is connected to Aquarius, and Aquarius is the opposite of Leo, and this was a number one month, which is connected to the Sun Leo energy. So, and opposites are kind of the same. So there's that connection there. Um, and I think that about does it. Okay, what else did I want to say? Well, let's take a recap of, because here's the thing, like if you know that something is just as new as Trump is gonna probably show up in February 2024, then you know that uh, uh, you know that you want to be able to complete stuff on time. I already mentioned that, but I mean, okay, look, it could also even be Trump himself. I would not be surprised if that would be it. But I kind of feel like there's just as much chance that it would be something or someone that is equally unexpected as Trump was. So if it's Trump again, I don't know if that would be unexpected. But he does have the Leo energy a lot. So, and he is popping back up at this number one universal month here with his golden sneakers. So there is that. Plus, he is a Gemini, and as I said, Jupiter is about to enter Gemini, and that's going to make people get hope from Gemini people or situations, just like they're getting hope from Pierre Poilievre, for better or worse, and whatever. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either way. Um, yeah, interestingly too, I think Oklahoma was one of the areas that got hit by the tornadoes in April. Let me see. Minden, Iowa, Nebraska. Um, I think it did mention here. Um, my knowledge of the geography of the U.S. is not probably up to par, but I'm pretty sure I saw that Oklahoma was part of this. Maybe it might have been in here. It was that. Let's see this one. No, not that. Okay, you know what? Here, this. Let me ask right here, because here's the thing. Like these happen as we're approaching the number 4 month, and number 4 is karmic, and you had that toe licking challenge, and that's like bad, and then it's like, um, okay, then Oklahoma might have been hit with was. Or let's do it like this. Was Oklahoma recently hit with a tornado?
Yes, Oklahoma was recently hit by a tornado. Here are some details. A tornado outbreak tore through Oklahoma, leaving destruction and loss of life. This outbreak happened between April 25th to 28th and is likely to be one of 2024's billion-dollar natural disasters due to the estimated $2.1 billion in home damage rebuild costs. The town of Sulphur suffered the worst destruction when a tornado plowed through downtown. 4 people were killed across the state, including a woman who was in a bar near the newspaper's offices. At least 5 deaths have been confirmed in the tornado outbreak in southern Oklahoma. A state of emergency was declared in 12 Oklahoma counties. The storm also brought flash flooding and high winds to parts of Texas, Kansas, and southern Wisconsin. More than 20,000 Oklahoma homes and businesses remain without power. Please note that this information is up to date as of May 3, 2024. For the latest updates, please check reliable news sources. Stay safe.
All right, so there you have it. I mean, and there's also geoengineering and stuff like that. So who's to say how much of this is natural and whatnot? But it is interesting that the area where they do this toe licking challenge ends up being the same area that gets hit by these tornadoes. I don't know if that school itself got hit with this, but anyway, that's just a side note. Now, let's get back to looking at the universal years. So 2017 was the last time we had. That's the other thing, is that when we got to, there was some sort of X-class solar flare or something like that that happened, I believe, in that same either December or either that universal month 1 or the other one in February, was a time when, here, let me see if I can find it, solar flare. Yes, when Aaron Bushnell set himself alive, I had mentioned on IG that Bushnell is apparently the 3rd person to try this in recent months. All the instances were in February, universal month 1, and around this time people witnessed an X-class solar flare, which was the largest seen since the previous universal year 1. So that's interesting. That highlights the energy of the sun literally from a solar flare. So there was that too. All right. Okay. What else did I want to cover? Going back to the years. I think okay, like, so 2018. Do I have that here? That would have been a year 2. Again, like the moon energy, not wanting to rock the boat, but also being too sensitive. I kind of feel like that was around the time that people like Antifa and stuff like that ended up making fools out of themselves more or something like that. Then you had like 2019, that would have been a universal year 3, some expansion, and more of that community oriented thing. And then number 4, then you can see really there from the 2020 that was definitely mad scientist, Uranus Aquarius energy, given that everyone was intimidated to take the jab and stuff like that. And what did you have in that particular year, which makes the January stuff that I tried to point out earlier? Remember, we said January had an overload of January 2024 had an overload of Capricorn energy from Mars and Pluto, and I said that that was a lot of cardinal Capricorn, meaning starting new things. But then I mentioned that it was harder to start new things as much, or at least see the traction of what you started, until later when we got to the number 1 month, which is more about showing yourself off and being expansive and that kind of thing. But the number 9 is about completion, and so that made this part of this year an extra grind, and it was kind of harder to suck it up at that moment. Uh, uh, and maybe some people did suck it up too much and like went workaholic mode, because they might not have known that the whole year is going to be this kind of energy. But the point is, what was my point? Hold on, let me not try to forget this. Oh, too many windows again. Fuck this shit. 1 second. Okay, so where was I here? Oh yeah. So what happened in 2020? This related to what's happening here in January 2024. Well, what you had in 2020 was a conjunction of, particularly at a Capricorn degree, a conjunction of Saturn and Pluto, which most likely led to the lockdowns, or were very strongly related to the lockdowns, because Saturn is about limitations and government, and Pluto is about psychological issues. So governments went literally insane and showed their psychological issues, and it's very easy to see how that could be connected to the lockdowns, especially since it's a 22nd degree, which is a Capricorn degree. So if we say Capricorn is related to the CEO that we say that if we say Capricorn is related to the CEO, and if we know this Saturn conjunct Pluto is related to something which destroyed businesses, then you can see why the thirst to start up businesses around now, when everybody's kind of out of that fog a little bit of that whole new normal bullshit. That's why people were motivated to get up and running. They remember their businesses getting destroyed. They want to be self-sufficient, and it's not just building something to stand the test of time to thwart any excessive Aquarius energies of being too much in your head and too much thinking technology will solve all your problems, but it's also building something robust just so you could feel good about yourself and have the peace of mind to know that the thing that is an obstacle and the thing that is bringing you hardship is dealt with, or is at least thought about, and is you have some kind of protocol about it. Otherwise, you're going to be, this next 4 months, like, you're going to be that lazy hippie. Okay? And that's what's going to happen. So, so you can see quite literally from these 22, like even Mars in January 2024 traveled 22 degrees throughout the zodiac wheel, as you can see here. And Mercury, as we said when we started that freaking year, when we started that freaking year, right before we started it, Mercury was at the 8th degree, just like 2024, which we got to right at the end of that retrograde, was a number 8 year. And just like the end of that retrograde was Mercury being at a Capricorn degree, even though it was Sagittarius, it was a Capricorn degree. So other people who don't pay attention to the degrees and stuff like that, they're not going to see this the way I see it. And I'm going to admit that I don't take into account the decans as much when I'm looking at this, but so the decans is just separating those 30 degrees per sign into 10-degree chunks, and the first 10 degrees is like a pure version of that energy, and then the second 10 degrees from like 10 to 20 is basically related to the what the planet that rules the sign of the same element after that. So look, I don't have the time and energy to just explain what decans are right now. It's all in my brain database. But the point is, my attention focuses more a lot on the degrees themselves. And so when I saw this, I was like, okay, well, this kind of confirms that that we're off to start this year in a Capricorn way, because Mercury stopped going retrograde at a Capricorn degree in that year. And then you remember that I said that this recent Mercury retrograde was really shitty. Well, that didn't surprise me, not only because I knew that it was going to be happening when the solar eclipse is happening. Solar eclipse is basically right in the middle of that Mercury retrograde, almost in the middle. But the 27th degree is a Gemini degree, and so that helped me underline even more that particular Mercury retrograde, because Mercury rules Gemini and Virgo, but Mercury rules Gemini, and so to have Mercury go retrograde at a Gemini degree, that's almost like double Gemini. So that's what did we end up seeing. Let me pull up my Instagram here, so that you can see quite how bad this particular Mercury retrograde was. And here you have this was in the Mercury retrograde, and we say that we already said that it slows down traffic and impacts your electronics and communication and stuff like that. So here you had law enforcement on high alert as over 24 barges break loose heading down the Ohio River, shutting down multiple bridges. And this was also, at that recall that this solar eclipse, we said 2 days after it, you had the two malefic planets Mars and Saturn get in the same spot of hippie ass watery Pisces. So here's water. Here's a water event impacting traffic, right? Water event that 24 barges break loose, and it's not the only one. This is another image of the same situation, the barges, and here they are up against the dam. But it's not the only thing that's water related. Here we mentioned also the Dubai flood. And here you have National Weather Service currently experiencing widespread radar outage with half of its radar down. That was reported by Roz Alerts. I remember checking it out, and at that time the AI said it might have happened a day or two before, so he might have been late on mentioning this. I don't know, don't quote me, but the point is, Mercury is communications breakdowns, and that's literally what this is. And then I mentioned also that particular month was that April was we said that was connected to hold on, the number 3. Where's the universal months? Okay, yeah. So April is connected to 3, which is Jupiter, and Jupiter rules fiery Sagittarius, and used to rule uh, uh, watery Pisces. But here you have a Mercury retrograde situation where it's literally fire, too. So you had a mix of the fire and the water stuff. I think there was some other fire thing I saw in Europe, uh, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, this right here, like, calls for answers after train on fire rolls through downtown London, Ontario. Like, what more do you need to see to know that this is one of the worst Mercury retrogrades ever? Uh, and I'll just put this up real quick since we mentioned Pierre Poilievre and how he's a life path 8. And here we have this thing, Canada Proud, saying that Jagmeet Singh, or Singe, I don't know how to pronounce that, claimed more than $533,000 in expenses as an MP in the last 9 months of 2023, more than any other parliamentarian, and Pierre Poilievre spent just $61,000 less than any other MP. So I'm saying that that's probably because he's a life path 8, and that the 8 is good in business, and the 8 is the CEO. So that is why that's happening, whereas Jagmeet is a life path 2, or a life path 11 slash 2, and 11 is connected to Neptune and moon energy, and so that's why he is in La La Land about a lot of things. He'll I think he even puts out these weird ass TikTok videos with cats and shit like that. I don't know. Cartoon cats or whatever. It's been a while. So, and this was the guy that got stabbed in Halifax recently. So, again, this was on the way to that Mars conjunct Neptune. Mars being conflict situations, Neptune being lack of boundaries or illusions and delusions. That happened exactly on the 29th. We mentioned this happened on like the 22nd, if I remember correctly. Okay, so we mentioned about the universal year, how when we got to 2020, that was very clear how that was connected to the mad scientist energy and revolutionary energy. I mean, you could say that even the reaction to that mad scientist energy was the Freedom Convoy. And that's kind of a bunch of people just coming together just because they know that that's the right thing to do, and resisting in whatever way they can this medical dictatorship. That's also an Aquarian thing. So these energies go both ways, and people should be aware of that. Then, of course, 2021, that's that Mercury year. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 1 is 5, and that's the middle number between 1 and 9. So you have 4 numbers before it and 4 numbers after it, and so that's a year where everything was bouncing around a lot, and protocols for restaurants, as an old friend of mine mentioned, were changing on either like a weekly basis, monthly basis. You all remember with the masks and all that. One day a mask, one day this, one day that. So that was leading up to the Freedom Convoy days of the 2022, which is relief, right? So if we say the 5 requires like, if you're on like a number 5 personal day, then you kind of gotta take action to get things moving, because it's like to improve your mood. Otherwise, it gets like all work and no play, because the number 4 is about the work. And if you stay in that, then you're not really mixing things up enough. And then so the 5 helps you to get the variety and do the communication and that kind of thing. Like be artistic and whatnot. If you're a life path 5, we mentioned these keywords already. You got visionary here. You got adaptable, magnetic, and so maybe not so much the artistic stuff for the 5, but it can overlap with it, I think. And anyway, so that's the 5, and of course being too all over the place and disorganized is the that's why 5 is connected to Mercury, which rules Gemini, which can be ADHD, and the disorganized thing we already said, that's kind of like the Virgo. Mercury rules Virgo also, and they can miss the forest for the trees sometimes. So anyway, so that was 2021 required things to get moving, but it was also a number 5, which means like the most physical number, because 1 and 9 are like birth and death, and so 5 is physical in that way. And so then you get to the 6, and that 6 is closer to that 9, so that's like relief, right? So and by the way, the 5th tarot card is the Hierophant, which is connected to Taurus, I believe, and so that's Earth, and so that's the physical. But anyway, so you have the universal year 6, and that would have been relief. That's like the 6 is Venus energy, which Venus is love and money and relationships, and so that would have been a year of relief. I got here foreshadowing the lack of boundaries attributed to 2023 via late 2022. There was this story, trans comic strips naked, insults God, and plays piano with penis on British state-funded TV. I'm not going to click that one, but this is happened at October 24th, 2022. So you can see that even when you get to the close to the number 7 year, which is about the lack of boundaries, because that one is about the Pisces Neptune energy, you already saw the foreshadowing of that on the way to that. So you that's why as we get to the end of this year, you're going to start to see opportunities for networking probably more near the end of the year, because that 9 is synthesis and networking, and that's what we're moving into. But if it's not that, the 9 is also drama queen. So if you notice some people being more drama queen near the end of the year, it's probably like, I would keep those people at arm's length. But that's just me. So anyway, so the number 6 was relief in the form of the Freedom Convoy. It was a Venus year. Venus rules Taurus and Libra, and I believe if we know that the nodal axis, the lunar nodes, which are connected to the eclipse cycles, we said that in the middle of 2023 that got into the Aries Libra nodal axis shift. So that means before that, the 18 months or so before the middle of 2023 was emphasizing the Taurus. That would have been a Taurus north node, because that's the sign after Aries, and the nodes go backwards. So that means that would have fit well with this number 6 year, because 6 is Venus, and Venus rules Taurus. So let's take a look at the actual dates of the lunar node shift. That would be right here. Not here. That's Lilith. Okay, so the nodes they got into Taurus at January 18th, 2022 is when the North Node left Gemini and got into Taurus. And then it left Taurus July 17th, 2023. So yeah, most of 2022 would have been, or all of 2022 except for before January 18th, would have been a North Node Taurus, emphasizing the fact that we had to focus on the making money and being practical and having our basics down. And if we couldn't do that, then we were probably gravitating to the opposite of Taurus, which is the Scorpio energies, which are the shared resources and taxes and inheritance and things like that. But anyway, here you can see that those nodes fit nicely with that year being a year that's connected to Venus energy. And of course, I mentioned I released a 4.5-hour video about how 2023 was connected to the Neptune and the Mercury energy. And so that year was about getting right spiritually. And it was also about next level scientific achievements, because the 7 merges science with spirituality also. And that was the year that Pluto entered scientific Aquarius. Yes, this year is spending more time in Aquarius, but we got introduced to that Pluto in Aquarius last year in the 2023 year. So again, I highly recommend people check out that video that I made for that. I came out with that video around December 11th or so of 2023. So you also had Global Consciousness Project 2.0 ended up being a thing that year in 2023. I reached out to the Heart Math Institute and I asked them when did they first start having the 2.0, and they said that they started collecting data at this date, which would have been a universal month 9, because that was February and it was in 2023, so you add 2 to 2023 and you get 2025, which reduces to 9. So 9 we said was connected to Pluto, and Pluto in Aquarius is the mad scientist energy. And fast forward to now, and you got here's the site for the next gen random number generators. I think that's what the RNG is, of the Global Consciousness Project 2.0. So here you can see whenever something ends up making these random number generators, or I'll put it a different way, whenever these random number generators become less random, quote unquote, then you'll see these become different colors. So that's an interesting thing. That's networking. All right, that's a global humanitarian kind of thing, and it's from the Heart Math Institute. So there's that heart Leo component that we're trying to talk about too, to balance out that mad scientist energy. Okay, is that everything that I wanted to say? How long has this video been so far? 2 hours 42 minutes. Okay. I didn't want it to be that long, but okay, let me see if I can fire through all the rest of the stuff that we had to say. I think that was it, right? Like I'm saying that now we're in the roll up your sleeves energy year, and we're in a number 4 month, so don't work too hard, but do some work this month, and then allow yourself to have some fun maybe next month. And of course, this is barring any nuances that your personal month number would be and so on and so forth. But the collective energies is that this is a karmic month here, so know that that number 4 is connected to Saturn and Uranus, and like we said, expect more protests, expect more focus on humanitarianism, expect more scientific breakthroughs and things like that happening this month. But also with the retrogrades, like one by one, they're gonna. Where is that? Okay, I'll close this. Yeah, here we go. One by one, that's gonna start to make the rest of this year foggy. This February was the best time for knowing the long-term ramifications of your actions. It was right when Uranus had just stopped being retrograde, and yeah, so we already mentioned about all the humanitarian energy in January, and how that was the cardinal energies were kind of slow to get up and started. There was a weed store that opened up in my area, in my neighborhood, that month, and a lot of, like I said, people were itching to start up their businesses and stuff. A lot of people I spoke to online and some streaming platforms that I do some too often, were also talking about their businesses that they were wanting to start up and everything. Uh, but yeah, the eclipse brought the wrench in the gears, and that kind of slowed things down, as we said a billion times, about the end of March. And now Pluto is retrograde, so now power and control issues are all up for review. Now people's obsessions are kind of maybe having more free reign to not be seen for how obsessive they are, or maybe you're having a time to reanalyze how you're being too obsessed with certain things. You know, Pluto is obsession, and it's in mad scientist Aquarius. And what is Pluto doing around now? Right, here's the chart for now, and it is recently squaring that sun. We already mentioned that, so power and control issues with ego issues, but it's got opportunity here to there's this Pluto sextile Neptune. So since, hold on a sec. Yeah, we're not in that 29 yet. That's why that'll show 28 right there. But pretty soon that'll be 29, and so you'll have to watch out for all the 29 stuff. But if the actions that you're taking that are transformative, which is Pluto, if they're based on reanalyzing what you need to transform, and reanalyzing what you need to purge, and reanalyzing who has the power in any given scenario, and reanalyzing any grudges that you have, and how obsessed you are with technology, because Pluto's in Aquarius, that all has an opportunity right now to merge with any interconnected compassion energies, or any art that you're doing, or any messages you're getting from dreams, or any forgiveness that you want to introduce into the scenario, and stuff like that. I'm going to leave it at that for now for that thing, because I don't want to go out, because then I'll end up reading this whole chart and whatever. I don't have time for that. The reason why I didn't come out with that kind of stuff recently as much as I wanted is because I should have been more doing what I put in this video. In fact, around the time of the I wanted to have a full moon Scorpio video out shortly before that. And what happened on the full moon in Scorpio, there was no water at my house, at my apartment, for like 4 hours. And Scorpio is water. Then the Jupiter, also around the time of the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, which I mentioned, that ended up having my internet destroyed for either 2 to 4 hours, right when I was trying to record that video. So it's like the universe was like nudging me to make this astronumerology video instead, and let you guys know about how crucial it is this year to be doing the hard work and sucking it up, and not being in victim complex, and nipping the problem in the bud, and facing obstacles head on. And that you're able to do that now because you did have the chance last year, likely, to get right spiritually, and to figure out, to analyze things and see things in a new way, without getting lost into the withdrawn, cynical part of the number 7 energy. Because because that ends up removing you from everything a little bit too much. Water signs, like 7 is Neptune, Pisces. Pisces is water. Water signs could be too much in the background, too yin, too observing. All the water signs are moody. So that year kind of schooled everybody in what they need to know for proper introspection without going overboard on that. I mean, me, I'm on a number 7 personal year right now. So while there's lots of competition out there right now, because it's a number 8 universal year, since I'm on a number 7 personal year, I'm more about the needing to spend time in nature and the needing time to unwind or avoid overthinking. The 7 can be too much over analysis. So that's what I'm in right now. But that's kind of what the general trend was last year. And so then, you know, if you do the introspection, then you know which parts of yourself are projection. And then once you get that out of the way and you deal with that and do that shadow work, then you're able to be disciplined, which is what this year is about. And if you're disciplined properly, then you don't have to do the negative version of the 9, which is be so bitter about people who leaned on your shoulders so much that you didn't have boundaries for that. And when it comes to the 9, then you're like, well, you might end up ghosting them forever instead of just putting them at arm's length a little bit, because of the fact that you're too upset. But really, in that scenario, you're probably more upset with yourself than anything. So that's why this year is about what's happening now on the ground. Like, we've been watching a genocide happen for like 7-8 months or some shit. Like, so what's going to happen with that? And what's you don't want to have external solutions. You always want to avoid external solutions too much. And the real thing is, the real war is within. That is what the Mars energy should be about, right? If you want to avoid things having a spilling outward effect, then, you know, like for me, I used to be in a couple metal bands, and I've played a lot of shows in my earlier years in the Ottawa area with underground metal bands, stuff like that. And I found over the years, once I found out that Tuesdays were connected to Mars, I felt like I can feel that that's the most appropriate day to listen to metal. I feel less like listening to it on other days, but the point is, like, channeling that anger and aggression energy to something is needed, because you don't want to suppress any of that, because it'll just give you headaches and stuff like that. Like it's Aries rules the head. So and if you know that the real battle is within, then if you can identify which parts of yourself need to be transformed or purged, right? Because we said there's that overlap with Pluto and Mars energy and Pluto's transformation. If you can make the transformations and not hold on to grudges and stuff like that, then you can make better use of that Mars energy. It doesn't have to be conflict or war. Mars is passion. Mars is it's malefic. It's the downside of following your passions. But if you're aware of the dynamics, and you're aware of the fact that there is a point in being assertive or aggressive sometimes, then you can make the most of this energy. The Pluto and Aquarius energy is very intellectual. It can be too much smarty pants. And the South Node Libra energy is air sign, just like Aquarius, and maybe they're not as much smarty pants, but they could be sweet talkers. So it's important that people be able to identify what's concrete and what's not sweet talker. People had a lot of shoulder rubbing and avatar degree stuff in February. They even had some in December here, uh, with Venus in an avatar degree in 2023. But really, uh, since Mercury and Venus are always close to the Sun, you had since avatar degrees only happen in fixed zodiac signs. You had the Sun in a fixed sign Aquarius here in February, and around the 4th or 5th was a lucky period in February. If you think back to that time, who did you meet at that time? Or in terms of Mercury communication, and that's like social media, who did you meet on the internet around the 14th or 15th of February? Or in Venus is like that's either relationships or money or love. So in those areas, who did you rub shoulders with on the 28th, 29th? That was a number one month, and that was expansive. Everybody was like wanting to be out and be seen. And then that was also the month with no retrogrades. Then the next month was when we approached that lunar eclipse. But even on the way to that lunar eclipse, you still had Mars be giving you a lot the stamina, shoot first, ask questions later energy as it pertains to mad scientist or the good of the group. You had a lot of willpower there that was giving people situations where they were probably networking, like and having really resourceful networking there. And then over here, as we approached the lunar eclipse, Jupiter was resourceful in terms of it was the planet of luck, so it's lucky by default, but except for maybe less lucky when it's like retrograde, but it's generally lucky, and then it gets to a lucky degree as it gets to the lunar eclipse. So people who were sucking it up as they approached this wrench in the gears situation were rewarded by some luck if they remained practical and stable and slow and steady approach. So what I'm trying to say is February and March were very much networking time. Maybe less so March, because that was the universal month 2, which is more about the Cancer and the home energies and stuff. But you still had a lot of the Mars in Aquarius, so that's a lot. Pluto was still in Aquarius there. Venus was still in Aquarius. So, and Aquarius is very much about networking. But yeah, now hold on. Yeah, so that was February and March, and now things are we're just getting out of the fog of the Mercury retrograde, which started on a Gemini degree, which is Mercury connected, and then power and control issues get all foggy. Then order and structure Saturn later on gets a little foggy, and then Neptune illusions gets a little foggy. But I'm here to tell you that just pay attention to that Neptune illusions fogginess now, because we said there's 4 months of Neptune and 29 degree shit starting right around now. So this 29 degree, this 29 degree, this 29 degree, this 29 degree. Then Pluto's going to be doing that 29 degree shit here, and then there. So again, here is that. Right here is May, June, July, August, September, October. So right into mid-November. And what's happening then? Then you get the 20 years of Pluto in Aquarius. 20 years. Do you understand? So that means if we say ChatGPT and AI art were connected to Pluto and Aquarius, that we only got introduced to for like 3 months in 2023, and we're only like a couple months or whatever the fuck into it now, again, imagine what 20 years is going to do, right? So here's the thing, like with the humanitarian energies, like we've had stuff in the past do shit. Like I'm 38 years old. I remember watching the Iraq War stuff on TV back in the day. Like now it's totally different story. It's you're seeing like a live stream of babies getting killed on a daily basis for like 7-8 months. So if you think that's not gonna tap into the collective energies of everybody, if you're living under a rock so much that you can't see already now how much it is getting everybody riled up, then I think you're underestimating how much the playing field can be leveled over the next 20 years. And I'm not a hope freak. I'm not stupid. I'm not overly naive. I know people got their past life karma. I know you can't do other people's inner work for them. I know all that. But I'm also very excited about the developments that have happened. Everything you've seen in this video, I made this picture. Okay, I made this picture. And of course, it's not the best. I'm not saying it's like a total amazing work of art that I'd want to hang up in my wall. There's other stuff that I've made that are not in here that are like that. I have that on my Instagram if you guys want to see that. But the point is, this is a Pluto and Aquarius development. It's helping me communicate basic things to you guys visually. And I could not have seen this being the way I present information 2 years ago. I wouldn't have been able to think it would be this easy to make these pictures and put them up there and whatnot. But that's happening. So the real risk then is, as we said, thinking that having too much of an external solution, thinking that technology can solve all your problems. You want to avoid that, but at the same time, you don't want to sit on your hands and pass up on opportunities that are happening here. And this particular month is going to be very Aquarian and Saturnian. That's the heavy-handed police state kind of backlash against these protests. That is the Saturnian government kind of part, but I think there's a lot of reasons to be hopeful, and I think that's everything I wanted to say. Let me just do a quick scan. Yeah, so yeah, we're going to be coming out of a long cycle from 2017 to 2026. It's really difficult to know what's going to happen at 2026. And regardless of what you think about the Israel Hamas or Israel Palestine quote unquote conflict, genocide, whatever you want to call it, I mean, in my opinion, yeah, like there's, okay, I don't want to go off on a big thing here, but the point is, regardless of what you think about that, it's easy to see how it's stretching off forever. It's just not, there's no end in sight at this point. So if the numbers are saying that war energy is going to be a theme in 2025, I would say we can probably collectively avoid that scenario and another nuclear world war, or I mean another nuclear bomb being dropped anywhere, is again to remember that 9 is connected to Pluto and Mars is war, and the real war is inside. Okay, it's the real war is in your heart, and the heart is connected to Leo, and Leo is leadership, and we need good leaders. Okay, Netanyahu's a life path 9. We don't need leaders like that. Klaus Schwab is a life path 9. We don't need leaders like that. But there is there is a lot of Leo energy just from the fact that it's a number 8 year, and that 8 is connected to the strength card, which is connected to Leo, and there is a thirst for good leadership, and it's just that a lot of people are fucked up at being like an Aries because of that Chiron in Aries. It's making people wounded at being assertive or aggressive, so it comes out in extreme ways at the wrong times. So that's, again, if you can master yourself, then you'll probably end up uh, bu- bumping up against people that you can have honest, good, far-reaching networking with. But all of it's useless if you're too much in a rush. Like right now, we're still in that Taurus season, so take advantage of that. Like do the slow and steady wins the race, the slow and steady wins the race approach, because 2025, like we said, two long-term planets entering impulsive Aries right after we finish 18 months of North Node Aries, at a time when a shitload of air energy is blowing around all this fire, more or less. Uh, and air and fire are both yang masculine energy, and so um, that the passion that comes from that Mars energy needs to be controlled. If you can control the passion, then you can complete things on time and not just burn yourself out. Um, picking your battles is probably pretty important this year. I'll say it like that. Um, Anything else I wanted to say? I think that's it. Let me check my pendulum. Okay, is there anything else that I should say right now? Left is yes, right is no. Is there anything else that I should say right now that I'm leaving out, that I'm forgetting, whatever? Is this a good time to end it? Okay. Alright. And people who want to bitch about me moving and shit, that's how this shit works. Like, it's a wobbly chair. I'm not sitting on a fucking goddamn throne that's made of stone or some shit. Anyway, so thank you for watching this presentation. And if you've made it through all the way to the end here, 3 hours. It seemed like my last video was 4.5 hours long. This video is 3 hours, but I'm glad I got it out here. Like I'm saying, the next 4 months gonna be annoying, but if you have mastered your emotions and you're not too emotional, and you have some sense of wisdom about what the value of art is, or meditation, or forgiveness, or knowing when you're forgiving too many people, knowing when your victim complex or savior complex, or identifying that in other people and unreliable friends, or grief and deception for members of the opposite sex, or stuff like that. Again, let me pull that up for you one more time, just in case you're... Actually, this is something I wanted to say too. But you know what? I'll leave that. I'll just leave that here. You can screenshot that if you want, because I already asked the pendulum. So this is another thing that's connected to that 5. The fact that the word core equals 23, which reduces to 5, and there's only 5 core numbers in Pythagorean numerology. Anyway, so if you appreciated this video presentation and you found it unique, and you didn't think it was too much all over the place, feel free to either purchase a tarot reading from me for $90 Canadian per hour, or purchase an astrology reading from me, same price, $90 Canadian per hour. Or if you just want to donate, you click the donate button at the top of my website here at Potent News, and you click donate with PayPal, and this is the cookies thing popping up here. Look at that computer getting all fucking weird right at the end of the video. Okay, so yeah, you click the donate button from the donate page, and that'll bring you to the PayPal donation page, where you can donate with PayPal, or just put your credit card info and donate that way to my PayPal that way. I should have a Bitcoin address up there again soon. I'll just say that. Like I said, this recent Mercury retrograde was annoying as fuck, but it's kinda all systems go for me now, hopefully, even though I'm still in that number 7 personal year, so I might be more in the background than I would like. But the more you guys donate, the more you'll see videos like this. It'll drastically increase the chances of that happening. and or if you again purchase a tarot reading or astrology reading, that's also another way to support this work. Or check out, just share and share this video that you're seeing now, or check out my other video and share that one, if you like it, if you find it's valuable. So I think that's it. Yeah, okay. Well, see you guys later.